good name for the new kayak. He said, we're going to call it the Whiskey. And Thomas said, oh, no, can't call it the Whiskey. And I said, but there's a bird called the Whiskey Jack. And he said, no, there isn't. And I said, Google it. So he looked it up and he said, oh, yes, there is. And I said, it's a kayak designed for rough water. And when you make things rough, the water is all whisked up. So it's like the water is whiskey. It's all froth and bubbles. And Thomas said, huh? And Richard said, okay, it's done then. I'll send these off to the printer. And he walked out. So it was named the Whiskey. And people liked the name and could remember it. So they started naming their other kayaks, like the Tequila and the Martini. And so on. That's the story.
Oh, I see. Okay. Interesting.
Next edition is Tuak, maybe from Toba. Tuak.
or maybe from Flores Sopi.
Okay,
Sopi is a typical name of the whiskey from the Flores. So maybe we can suggest to you to make a Sopi type of the kayak.
Okay.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So that's the way where you get the name for this kayak. Yeah, very interesting. But it's I have to try to avoid to use this whiskey too long because I can get drunk after that. So that's why it's only for the maybe short time. You cannot use it for a long time.
I didn't understand.
Maybe we cannot use the whiskey, your kayak whiskey, in the long time, because if too much whiskey, you can make you drunk.
Oh, right.
Because we are in the tropical country, so
it will evaporate.
Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you very much. Anyway, it's very nice to know that where the name came from. Very good.
So, Nigel, your signature in my whiskey kayak already fade away.
Maybe I have to come. Maybe I have to come back and do it again.
So
and I will also need one signature in my kayak from you, Nigel.
We paddling together again.
I hope so. I come back and I write it again.
Okay, I'm checking again if the main member of the expedition.
Suaranya Priyo hampir nggak kedengeran.
Halo, sudah kedengeran? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Kecil suaranya, Pri. Agak kecil suaranya.
Karena pakai ini kali ya?
Iya.
Sepertinya mic-nya tertutup sesuatu.
Udah. Halo, apakah sudah? Belum?
Masih kecil.
Kayaknya ini masih.
Tadi jelas.
Halo. Oh, geser.
Halo.
Oke. Ini bagus.
Oke.
Ya, good.
Jelas
Ya,
Oke.
No, kayaknya tadi pakai speaker, jadi speakernya nggak ada mikrofonnya.
Ya, ini bagus banget.
Oke, jadi apa namanya? So we will obviously we will talk with Nigel in English, but to make clear for some participants who are more comfortable in asking in Indonesian, I will translate. I think the main expedition team from Wanadri expedition team, the Flores Kayak expedition, are already here. We have Derry, we have Kang Yopi, we have Molly, Sapro, me and Nico for the paddling team. The land team, I think we have, not sure. But anyway, yeah, Indra and Kang Deperi and Teguh maybe. Anyway, we can start because anyway, the question that we already sent Nigel is mainly from the kayaking team. Yes. So yeah, I'm just for the sake of the audience also, although Nigel have already received the 10 question that we asked him, I would say again the questions, and also I will translate it to Indonesian if anybody in the audience are more comfortable in listening in Indonesian. Jadi kami sudah mengirim pertanyaan, tim kami sudah mengirim pertanyaan-pertanyaan inti kepada Nigel Foster dari tim Kayak berdasarkan pengalaman kami latihan kemarin. Tapi tetap hari ini jika waktu memungkinkan kita bisa tetap menanyakan pertanyaan di luar pertanyaan ini. I was explaining also, Nigel, that aside from this 10 question, there probably there will be more spontaneous question if time is permitting.
Yeah.
And also, if anybody outside of the team also, they are also welcome to ask questions. So just a little bit, introduction also that we are the Wanadri team of Sea Kayak. We are going to do a sea kayak expedition circumnavigating Flores Island, which is 1,075 kilometers. We are planning on August and September and probably early October also. Now currently we are already about 6 months out of our process of training ourselves. We have already trained in the north shores of West Java. We have already done the 5 days kayaking and camping training. We also have done a wave training and surf training, three days. And from that training, we have several questions that are several evaluations and questions that we would like to ask Nigel Foster, considering he is already a very experienced kayaker, a kayak expeditioner, and also a kayak designer. The first question that we are asking to Nigel is, during strong wind conditions, how to maximize the function of edging, skeg, the use of skeg, and the use of rudder. Jadi, so I translated one time for the others who would like to Indonesia. Saat saat keadaan angin kencang, bagaimana memaksimalkan fungsi teknik edging, yaitu memiringkan perahu, dan juga fungsi sirip. Beberapa kayak itu memiliki sirip, dan kemudi. Beberapa kayak menggunakan kemudi. Kadang seringkali juga tidak pakai, tapi beberapa kayak ada kemudinya. Nah, bagaimana memanfaatkan teknik dan alat-alat tersebut untuk mengatasi perjalanan saat angin kencang yang berhembus ke arah tertentu. So that's it, Nigel. That was the question.
And I have to ask you, have you kayaked with your training with kayaks that are loaded with a lot of equipment?
Yes, we did. We bring how many water each? Berapa liter? 10 liter of water each. We bring also. Yeah, we will also brought tents, and for one night with food also. That is when we have strong wind. Before that, we also have put stuff for worth of 4 days also.
Mm.
But
So
our
the total is about 35 kilogram, around 35 kilogram load that we put in our edge.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I just wanted to check that. The main or the most important thing to start is to load the kayaks evenly front and back and side to side so that they are neutral in their weight. The weight is centered, not in one end or the other end. It makes the handling much better, and to have the heavy things towards the center, close to the kayaker, and the lightweight things in the ends. Yeah, and it may be something that you already do, but that's number one.
Okay.
Number two, the skeg or rudder, if you need it, the skeg will work best when you are going downwind to have more skeg.
Okay.
When you're going into the wind to have no skeg. And then when you're going across the wind, maybe half skeg or part skeg.
Okay. I see.
That's the way that it controls best. And if you think of an anchor in a boat, where you throw the anchor into the water and tie the end of the boat to the anchor, the boat will swing around on the anchor chain and it will blow with the wind.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you think of anchoring one end of your kayak, if you anchor the back by putting the skeg down, you will go away from the wind.
Yeah, okay.
Pull the anchor up, then you go into the wind. But that anchoring can be done with your body weight also. If I'm bringing my weight back, it pushes the back of the boat, back of the kayak down, and the kayak turns a little away from the wind. If I bring my weight forward, then it pushes the front down. It's anchoring the front. I go a little bit toward the wind.
Toward the wind. Yeah.
So I have an ability with my body weight to adjust also in wind.
Okay.
And then the paddle strokes. If I want to face the wind, have the wind in my face, I need to anchor the front. I lean my weight forward, but I also make my control strokes, little strokes at the front to push the front sideways, and the wind will blow the back. I anchor the front with my paddle, and the wind will take the back. If I want to go from the wind, so the wind is at my back, I need to anchor the back of the kayak, and I do that with my paddle only at the back. Not a turning stroke that is from the front to the back, but a turning stroke that is only at the back.
Okay.
You understand that?
Yeah.
Okay. This is during the traveling. I mean, because we are traveling, we are moving forward. So if we want to, we are moving forward. So we anchoring by using our body to the back if you want to anchor the back side of the kayak and move forward.
So when you're going forward, and the most awkward direction is when the wind is from the side.
Okay.
Because when the wind is from the side, the kayak turns to face the wind.
Okay.
That is because when you go forward, the kayak is pushing the water apart at the front, which is anchoring the front. And you have the turbulence around the back,
Yeah.
So the wind will blow the back sideways. So to correct it, you need to anchor the back. And you do that with the skeg down or the rudder down, or with pulling the back sideways with your paddle.
Okay.
And that's only at the back, not anywhere else. So you're paddling forwards, and then you make a little correction at the back to make the kayak go straight.
Okay.
And for edging, if you edge down to the wind is coming this way,
Yeah.
I edge down to the wind,
Kemarin tuh dipanasin.
then the kayak will go more straight. If I edge from the wind, the kayak will turn to face the wind. So for going in a straight line with the wind at the side, you need to edge down to the wind, which is the most stable position anyway. So it's comfortable like that.
Yeah, because sometimes with the wind from on left side, we edge to the left also. But at the same time, the wave sometimes also from the left. So
yes,
so that's the best way to do it.
Yes. So if the wave hits you and you're edged into the wave, the kayak will be in control, and that's good for wind.
So for rudder and skeg, usually in those kind of conditions, they pretty much functions the same. You mean?
They're the same as in flat water, except with waves, they're not in the water all the time.
And about the distribution, we tried to do that. We tried to do the heavy stuff is closer to the cockpit, and the lightest one is further. But we also like, for example, some of kayak that we use, also your whiskey, the big compartment is, before the big compartment you have the day hatch. Was it the day hatch, right?
Yes.
So you have that one, which is you have smaller hole to put things inside. So you obviously you have a gap there. That's the same also with the seabird. And also when we are thinking of putting it close from the front, we have a pretty much a very big room, right? So when we trying to get it close, are you talking about still on the front compartment but very close to our feet, or put it, for example, just below our legs or something like that?
Sometimes if you have a lot of water to carry, then you could put it in the cockpit by your feet, and or on the other side of the bulkhead in the compartment, or just behind the day hatch. So those are the places where you want the most weight. You don't want to have things in the cockpit under your legs or around your legs. It's not a good idea in rough weather, because if you do need to come out of your kayak or you need to roll, you don't want to have things getting in your way in the cockpit. And if someone does go swimming, everything is everywhere. It's very difficult and very slow to do a rescue, because you're trying to pick out water here and someone's hat and a chicken. Everything is everywhere. So everything should be inside the kayak or strapped securely on the outside, not loose in the cockpit.
Yeah, we have also learned the hard way about strapping our stuff on the deck. Last time last time our training in the waves, we lost 3 pumps we lost 1.5 paddle, which one of them is actually a stored spare paddle. So and one is main paddle. So yeah, we learned the hard way. Oh, and some bottles, of course. But yeah, we thought it was strong enough. Yeah, we thought we put it on bungee is strong
Recording
enough.
in progress.
Apparently not strong enough. So
No.
yeah.
When you're strapping things onto the deck, don't expect the elastic to be good enough. If you you must tie it to the lines, the deck lines, to be secure. And yeah, it's not as quick to get things. When I've done expeditions and bigger expeditions, I like to put a pump and fit it to the kayak, so the pump is part of the kayak. And you can buy pumps that have a handle. And when I paddled around Iceland, I had a pump that was just behind the cockpit, and you can pump. It's always there. It's fixed to the kayak.
Oh, okay.
And when I paddled in Arctic Canada, I had a pump on my footrest, and it was a fiberglass boat, so it's possible to make changes very easily. But I had a pump which is on a tube for my feet. So if I push with my feet, it pumps water out of the kayak.
Okay.
So it's two advantages. One, with a foot pump, you don't have to use your hands. So you can kayak and pump at the same time.
Okay.
So you have some water in your kayak, you don't need to stop, you push the water out. If you have a rescue, you get back into the kayak, there's some water left in there. You don't need to stop to pump it out, you carry on. So you may think about that idea.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Maybe we can try to modify our kayak with this kind of pump, Rio.
Yeah.
See what you have available and see what you can think. It's not essential, but it's useful.
What about the electrical pump? Some kayak I also read that they have a electric pump, something like that. So you can pump it by automatically. So
Yes.
Is it good for a long-term expedition?
Everything electric, in my experience, has some problem with salt water.
Power and electricity. Okay. Yeah.
But they're very good for emergency. And there are, there used to be pumps that are about the size of a chicken, maybe a little smaller, that you can put into a kayak and pump it out, and then move it to another kayak and pump it out. So they're portable, not fixed.
Okay.
And that was a very good emergency solution, because if you have a problem with a kayak, a lot of water, you just put the pump in and it does all the work. But you don't need to use it every day. So the batteries will last for many weeks. I have a lot of batteries in there, and the batteries will last for a long time if you're not using them.
Yes.
So it's a good emergency solution.
Sorry, but during using this pump, it means that we have to open our spray deck.
That one, you'd have to open your spray deck and put the pump inside. People do put fix electric pumps into their kayaks with a switch, so that you don't need to open the cockpit. But that kind of pump will usually only work in that one kayak.
I see.
So if you have a team, everybody in the team needs their own pump,
I see.
and that's perfect if you can do it.
Mhm. Okay, but maybe for our initial expedition, maybe we can use the standard bilge pump, and also what you suggest before, by using the foot pump. Maybe it can be much practical for
I
our.
think that's more practical. Yes.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so thanks for the first question and the answer. So I'm just going to wrap it up in Indonesian. If some
Okay.
people interested in also checking that my Kang Yopi and Om Saleh and all the others can correct me if I have also misunderstood. So the first answer is for we have to make sure that our kita harus membuat distribusi barang kita di kayak itu seimbang. Yang paling berat adalah yang paling dekat dengan kokpit, paling dekat dengan bobot berat pedayung. Pertama, kita harus pastikan itu supaya dalam menghadapi arus dan angin kita dalam posisi netral, tidak hanya depan belakang tapi juga kiri kanan distribusi beratnya harus seimbang. Kedua adalah penggunaan skeg atau sirip. If we are going against a wind, we should be zero, right? Or should be zero. And then if we are having the wind the back of us, then we should put it on full. That's the rule of thumb. Like that.
Rule of thumb, yes. And if you're halfway to the wind, then you use half the skeg, roughly.
So jadi penggunaan sirip adalah secara umum mengikuti prinsip jangkar. Jadi bahwa penggunaan sirip kalau kita menghadapi angin, kita tidak menggunakan sirip sama sekali. Karena jadi anginnya hanya bertiup tanpa ada sirip yang menjangkarkan kayak kita, sehingga kita relatif tidak terlalu arahnya tidak terlalu terkoreksi. Sebaliknya, kalau menghadapi kalau kita ingin angin di belakang kita mendukung kita,
suaranya putus-putus.
Oh ya, kalau kita ingin supaya angin membantu dari belakang kita, maka sirip diturunkan full. Karena dengan seperti itu, arah bagian belakang kayak kita akan terjangkarkan dan angin akan mengarahkan bagian depan kayak kita. Begitu prinsipnya, dan itu adalah mengikuti prinsip jangkar tadi. Nah, prinsip jangkar ini bisa diterapkan juga dengan badan kita sendiri. Kalau badan kita condong ke belakang, maka bagian belakang kita akan menjangkarkan kayak kita dengan bobot badan kita. Dan kalau ke depan, agak maju ke depan, maka akan lebih berat ke depan. Nah, sisi manapun yang diberatkan, dia akan tertahan dari sisi manapun yang akan diberatkan, sisi yang diringankan, itu yang akan lebih tertiup oleh angin. Gitu. Lalu yang terakhir, penjelasan terakhir tentang edging, teknik edging. Kalau angin edging paling efektif atau teknik memiringkan kayak paling efektif adalah edging mengarah kepada angin. Jadi miring ke arah angin itu akan menetralkan posisi kita terhadap dorongan angin. Kalau kita mau memanfaatkan angin, maka kita akan menjauh dari edging berlawanan dengan arah angin. Begitu ya, Kang Yopi, kelihatannya ya?
Ya, oke, betul.
Ya, jadi itu yang untuk penjelasan tadi mengenai pertanyaan. Kalau mengenai modifikasi pompa yang mungkin dibicarakan setelah itu, sejauh ini kita tim masih menggunakan pompa konvensional, tapi Nigel memberi beberapa masukan mungkin dimodifikasi di mana pompa untuk mengosongkan kokpit itu bisa built-in di cockpit itu sendiri, dan dioperasikannya ada yang dengan pompa yang bisa kita injak maupun yang dengan baterai. Begitu. Halo Christine. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Yeah, this is late afternoon. It's supposed to be a sleepy time, but not because of you guys.
Okay. Well,
How
I
are you,
was
Christine?
listening from the kitchen. I thought you just wanted Mr. Foster with you today. And then he said I could come in and say hi. So hi and good luck to everybody. I think it's going to be an exciting trip. Really.
Yeah. We are so happy also that you are monitoring us.
It's fun. It seems it's nice to be part of it.
Yeah, and it's also nice to introduce Nigel and you to our friend, our family, our orange family, the Wanadri, and also our green family, which is Mr. Saleh Alatas. We already know him, right?
Hi,
Yeah, well,
Christine.
hi, how are you? I've been watching you all from the Instagram.
Oh, thank
So I
you.
see very busy.
And also, Christine, we on our paddling team in Flores, we have one female sea kayaker, which is Molly.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You'll have fun.
Yeah. See, so yeah, this is our team, and our expedition. The head of expedition, Mr. Yopi Saragi, is our senior. So he's yeah.
I'm taking my liberty to call you Christine and Nigel. Yes, sorry about that, but thank you very much. And first of all, maybe we are not officially invite you by a formal letter, but Rio told me that you guys are agreed to be our expert advisor in this expedition, if I'm not mistaken. So
Yes.
yeah, so it is. We really appreciate it, and we will put in our structure of the team your name as our expert advisor, if it's okay with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, we will give a very lot of advantage for us, and it could be what you call it, increase the what you call the prestige of our team, because you are part of our team. So we are going to international like international expedition with Nigel Foster, the big guy in this kayak, are our expert. So appreciate it, and thank you very much for this.
Well, and I hope that you can learn something from Nigel. I know he has so much experience, and just to be able to talk to him should
Of course.
be helpful.
Yes. That's why we are very proud, and we are very grateful for this opportunity and this.
Good. I'm glad it's positive.
Yeah, very much. So Nigel is a big name, so we are adore you, all of us here in Indonesia, all of Rio's friend Indonesia. So.
And also, Mr. Yopi is also always kayaking with his wife, so just like Nigel. And his wife is also here, right?
Yeah, my wife is.
Is that you in the picture?
Yeah, good morning, Christine and
morning.
Nigel. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. What a nice map of Indonesia.
Yes.
I put this map in my dining room just to remind me every day that I'm going to do this circumnavigation for all of Indonesia. That's what I will do.
Great. So that's them in the background
Yes.
too. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the real background. It's not the virtual background. That's the real background in our dining room.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess we should move on the next question. We have 10 questions, right? So
Yes.
yeah. The next question will be in Nigel, in your expedition experience, how do you organize the schedule of the meals, the lunch location, and the menu? That is a question from Mr. Nico here. He's the head of logistics, so
You're the hungry one.
yeah.
The fasting.
Hungry.
Yes. Oh, I shouldn't be
Yeah.
drinking.
That's okay. I was drinking mine too. It's a difficult question because every day is different. When you're on an expedition, I think of it every day as being a day trip. You look at the weather, you see what's going on, you see where you have to go, and then you think, well, I'm going to paddle for the day. And what do I need? Maybe I need some food before I go on the water. I need to have something during the day, and I need to eat when I have finished. But during the day, that depends on the conditions and the type of coastline, whether you can land or not. And if I'm doing an open crossing and I'm on open water for 6 hours with no land, then I might say every 2 hours, I'm going to have one little snack. But I'm not going to stop. I'm going to pause for a moment. I'll have a little, and then, okay, I go again. So I'm not wasting time eating. I'm doing bits and pieces, but regularly, maybe every 2 hours.
And prepare for that.
Yeah, and I would prepare for that because I'm going on open water. If I'm going on a coastline where it's very easy to land, I might think, well, I will land for maybe 1 hour in the middle of the day and have something to eat and a break on land and then launch again. And I time that and I think, well, this is a good place and I should be able to get there by 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, something around then. And then I don't need to eat until I get there. And then I just paddle until I get there, stop, have a break, and launch again. So it depends on the circumstances, the type of coastline, whether you can land or not. But I don't normally have a big meal if I'm on the water. I have little snack every 2 hours if I'm on the water. If I'm coming off the water, then I might have a stop and have one meal in the middle of the day.
Is there any particular reason for you not to have a big meal during the traveling, during the paddling? Any particular reason for this?
Oh, it's easier to, it's easier to keep paddling if you don't have a full stomach. You know, your stomach will be working on digesting. So if you have smaller meals, it's good. And I think also what Nigel's saying is that sometimes you can actually choose the spot you want to land on and then gauge when you leave. So you make it to the spot by lunch. And sometimes it's, you don't know. So you have to be flexible and know that it might take longer before you can stop. And having snacks in your pocket's always good. So
I see.
Okay, I think it's also that the third question is pretty much the same, but I think it means it actually directing into something else. What are the eating habits that support an efficient sea kayak expedition? I think this question is more about the nutrition.
The nutrition.
So so like what you were saying about eating, it depends on the coastline and it depends on the plan of the day. And then sometimes we prefer like many snacking so that we are more efficient moving. But what kind of snacks? What kind of food is essential? Like you don't want to eat popcorn like every 2 hours you just eat popcorn, for example.
No.
Dried fruit.
It's going to be different for you probably than for the places I've paddled in a lot of places which are cold. And when it's cold, you need a lot more fat. So cheese and nuts are very good. And it also depends on where you get your food. In Iceland, when I paddled around Iceland, we didn't know what we wanted to eat. Before we went. We paddled and then we got into a village and we found out, well, what do you have that we can buy in the shop? And what do we feel like eating? We would see the food and we decide what we were going to buy and we put it in the kayak, and then we would be okay for 2 or 3 days until we find another village and then get some more to eat. So we didn't plan what we would eat 3 weeks ahead or 6 weeks ahead. We planned maybe 2 or 3 days ahead.
Okay.
So if we get more hungry, we buy more food.
Okay.
When we went to Labrador, we have no way of buying food because there are no villages for 1,000 kilometers, but no villages. So we can't buy food. So we have to carry everything in the kayak. Then we carry chocolate and cheese and
You dried
a lot
fruit.
of dried food. We used a dryer to make the food lightweight and seal it in waterproof bags. And so we had dried fruit and dried meat and dried fish, and we could make our meals like that. We had rice, we had dried potato. So we had enough food in our kayaks to last us for 5 weeks. And also chocolate. So it's a very different, yes, chocolate too, but very different kind of strategy for a different type of expedition. Yeah. So for your expedition in Flores, is it possible to stop at a village or a town and buy food? Or does your land team say, okay, we buy food for you, what do you need? How would you think is the best way for you to organize?
So there is some things to be noted that our one of these I guess you should say that the template, not the template, like our tradition of expeditions, that we have everything on paper before. So during our education for going for a journey in the jungle or in the mountains or in the shores, we are required to have a list of the meals that we have. We will have even each meal we have already packed for each meals, and then we have to have that in paper, that in which day we should buy this and that. So we usually are we plan ahead as far as we can. But of course, Derry here, he's our operation commander. He also already looking into the possibilities of where how much or rather what stretches of the paddling that we will require to bring everything with us,
Yes.
all the food and everything. And usually I think the pattern is the 5th day we will meet the land team. We will meet the land team. So I think the longest should be that we have 5 days of meal things that we can eat. We sorry.
So we bring we bring the 5 days meal in our kayak.
Yes.
So after the 5th day, so we can land it in the place where we can replace the logistic the food. So that's our schedule. Five days
That's a
link without the reload, and then after the 5 day, on the 6 days we take a day rest and then reload the food, and then on the 7 days we start the paddling again. So that's one of the way we can be. It can be 5 days paddling, 1 day rest, or 3 days paddling or 1 day rest, something like that. We will mix this, depend on the situation in the flores, in the field also. So that's why we schedule, right? But the question, what we want to know is because last time when we did the 5 days trip, we eat in the middle of the sea. Let's say in the middle of the sea, about 3 kilometers from the land. Then we stop in the middle of the sea, and then we gathering the kayak, and then we start eating by spread the jam and bread.
Okay.
Yeah, we eat that at the time. So we come to the conclusion that maybe we just what you have suggested before, that we eat every 1 hour or 2 hour just a chocolate bar or protein bar or whatever every 1 hour, every 2 hour, without stop arrange a special time to stop for eating. So that's something that we discussed before. So based on your explanation, we can do it every 2 hours, and then we keep paddling, and then we don't eat. We don't arrange a special time to eat because it will waste our time, and also if our stomach is full, it's not good for digestion also. After that, maybe what you suggested, right?
Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. Planning for 3 days and then you meet, or 5 days and then you meet to restock is okay if you have stable weather, if the weather is good. But on one time in south coast of Iceland, we had a storm for 6 days.
Wow.
we didn't paddle for 6 days because it was really very windy. So your food needs to be arranged so that you have an emergency backup, something that you can, a reasonable amount of extra food just in case you can't.
Something happens to the land crew.
Or
breaks down.
Nigel, we also prepare for emergency food, but it's only for 2 days. So 2 days for 2 days, 3 times.
But
so that's outside of the 5 days that we do. We have a spare food for 2 days. So you think that's enough? Not enough, or?
It's probably enough, because the Flores is not a cold place.
Yeah. But we are lucky also that in the Flores, our land team, I mean the logistic support, can reach us almost everywhere where we stop, because it's not a remote. So maybe just take a longer time for our land team to reach our place where we are emergency landed. So maybe is a little bit different with your Iceland. It is very
Yeah,
remote, but we can reach you. But here in Florida, I think our land team can reach us wherever we landed.
Yes.
Almost.
Yeah, and it's nice to have a land team.
Okay.
Okay, so a little bit summing up in Indonesian for the third and fourth question. Sorry, the second and the third question altogether. So it was jadi tentang pertanyaannya adalah tentang bagaimana mengatur jadwal makan, tempat makan dan menu makan dan bagaimana mengenai nutrisinya. Singkatnya dari pengalaman Nigel sendiri agak sedikit perbedaan karena perbedaan iklim itu yang membedakan dari sisi apa yang dimakan. Dalam iklim yang lebih dingin dibutuhkan lebih banyak lemak, maka dimakan lebih banyak keju, coklat, dan beberapa makanan lain. Mengenai makan besar, dalam pengalaman Nigel sendiri tidak sering makan besar apalagi dalam kondisi makan siang karena mengingat juga untuk makan besar lebih mudah bagi kita untuk mendayung ketika porsi makan kita tidak besar dan kebutuhan energi kita diakali dengan makan yang lebih tersebar. Jadi kita lebih banyak tiap 2 jam kita memakan makanan, itu akan lebih membuat pergerakan kita lebih lincah dan lebih leluasa untuk ketika mendayung itu sendiri. Itu sudah kita praktekkan juga di beberapa latihan kita coba. Ada beberapa evaluasi, tapi pada intinya tidak jauh berbeda dari sarannya Nigel. Dan mengenai yang penting, catatan penting adalah pengalaman Nigel di mana jadwalnya berubah karena badai bisa sampai berhari-hari. Kami di tim sendiri sudah menyiapkan makanan cadangan yang kami siapkan untuk 2 hari. Tapi kemungkinan untuk itu terjadi di Medan Flores sebetulnya tidak terlalu besar. Begitu kurang lebih ininya. That's more or less the sum up in Indonesian for the second and the third question. And then the fourth question is, what are your standard for determining the whether is actually runnable or not in a sea kayaking? So what would you say? Like sometimes because in Wanadri we are eager to learn also the difficult the normal standard, but we also kind of like trying the challenging situations. But sometimes in this case, because we don't do sea kayaking before, what is too much? What is too difficult? It's just simply it's not for sea kayaking. How do you determine this is good for sea kayaking and that is just too much for sea kayaking? How do you determine that?
It's really on the ability and comfort of your team. So if there is one person in your team that says, I'm not really very happy with this, then the conditions are too much.
Okay.
And you will find that as you go into different conditions, everyone will find the conditions will be just a little bit too much or a little bit more than they expected. And then if they succeed and everything is okay and they can control the kayaks, then their comfort level increases. And you'll find you maybe go out in more difficult conditions. So to start, a day when there is little tiny waves can be a little frightening for some people. But if they go out in those conditions every day, then they're okay in something a little bit more and a little bit more until they can go out in some quite rough conditions. But there isn't a line where you say, this is too much. There is for me, there is for you, but it changes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of your other questions was about, have you had a traumatic experience?
Yeah.
You try to avoid the traumatic experience by saying, you don't look happy here today. This is a little bit too much for you. Maybe shall we land? Let's go ashore. We're going to stop now. That's a good decision, and a good leader will make that decision even if people say, no, we think we're okay.
Yeah.
If the person who is a good leader can see whether people are comfortable or not, and whether they are controlling the kayaks easily in the conditions or easily enough, and say, no, I think I would prefer to be on land now. Let's go ashore. That's safety thing. The balance of what is an upper limit, what's okay weather and what's not, that will change, and it's very personal.
Yeah. Okay. So far, that the standard that we use is is like the wind speed is about 10 knots, and then the wave is about one meter. That's what we think it's the standard that we can say it's runnable. Anything above that, we think it's unrunnable, or we can say stop for this. What do you think about this? So because this is our standard, it's just like that. This is that different, which I read in your book that you are facing the what you call it 7 meter while you are what you call it doing the expedition in 19 I forget the year, which is you have problem, and then you have to go to the tanker oil vessel that at the time. Maybe it's different because it's it's in the, I think it's the North Sea.
This is up in the north in the Arctic. So when I took the tanker, there is maybe 1,000 kilometers of no people.
Wow, 1,000 kilometers. Ooh.
It's about so.
Are you alone?
Yes, and there is a crossing of what's 45 miles in kilometers.
Double it.
About 80 or 90 kilometers gap between open water between one island and the next island.
Wow.
And it was very windy.
And cold also.
But of course I can't land because there's no land until I get to the other end. And I landed in the dark. But I had some frostbite in my fingers. So 8 days later, I met an oil tanker.
8 days later after that
after that crossing, a little farther south, and my decision was, okay, I'm going to get a ride home.
Okay.
So I stopped my trip and went on the oil tanker.
Okay.
So that was very lucky. That was fortunate to find somebody. But then there were no radio or cell phone or anything like that. So it's not it's a little different. You have the possibility to talk to people now on the satellite phone, but not then.
I see. So when you said stop for that expedition, do you have a mentally traumatic for this what you call it, the problem that you have? Is there any trauma that you feel?
That crossing that day, I had trauma. And I think it affected me for maybe a year, 2 or 3 years, maybe. It's some time before I had the full confidence to go on open crossings
at night,
and also paddling at night.
Yeah.
because the trauma had left an effect, and I had to build my confidence again slowly.
It took 1 year for you to recover. I see. Okay.
Or confidence.
Confidence. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's good to have adventure, which is where you get excited. It's a little bit challenging, but not too challenging. If it gets too much, then you get too scared.
Okay.
Then you don't perform so well, and it takes time to bring your confidence back. Which is why a good leader will look at the team and say, okay, I can see people in the team. I'm not going to point to them, but I can see people in the team are not completely comfortable here. I'm going to land before it gets into that position where you have a trauma.
Yeah, that's what we experienced before, Nigel. 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago, we have an experience with about 2.5 meter or 3 meters wave that hit us, and then all of us are, apa istilahnya, kalau kau balik itu, Bre? All of us capsize, and it took about 10 to 15 minutes for us to get out from that wave area. So all of us, separate from the kayak. Kayak is everywhere, people is everywhere. So we get a very bad experience at the time, and I can see in my team that even that all of us are experienced. I mean,
Yes.
it's not like you, but all of us get a trauma, and day after that, we are afraid to go even to go through the small wave. So
Yes.
I know that. So that's why right now we are still in the trauma. So maybe you can
So
working through.
the way to proceed is to say, well, okay, I'm not comfortable in big waves anymore.
Yeah.
I will start again with the little ones, and then you build back up again. The confidence builds in little layers, but do it in little steps.
Okay.
Don't think, well, okay, I have to go and jump into the big waves again. No,
Okay.
just do it in little steps, and it will take a little time. Not a year, I don't think, for you.
Yeah.
It will come much more quickly, but just be aware that it's normal. This is normal. It's not
for all kinds of sports.
Yeah.
You have trauma and you build back.
Yeah.
It's not something unusual. It's just a normal thing, and you recognize it and say, well, okay, this has happened, and we're going to stick to smaller waves for a little while and build up gradually.
Okay, very good. Ya, itu sorry, I talk with in bahasa. Mungkin itu yang harus kita lihat bagaimana Nigel dengan pengalaman traumanya itu, dia perlu recovery-nya 1 tahun ya, hampir 1 tahun sampai dia berani lagi. Nah, kita harusnya bangun lagi confidence, rasa percaya itu. Mungkin kita main lagi di ombak di apa? Sebelum kita masuk ke Laut Selatan yang nanti insya Allah di bulan April itu, kita April ya, akhir April atau awal Mei nanti itu kita mesti main lagi di Ancol, Archipelago sama pulau-pulau itu di ombak-ombak yang seperti biasa kita hadapin untuk membangun lagi rasa percaya diri kita. Nanti kita ditemani oleh Pak Haji Saleh ini, Pak Alatas yang akan doa ke kita.
Habib Saleh.
Ini masih dampingin kita buat recovery lagi nih. Kita teman-teman.
Tapi kan nanti waktu ekspedisi mudah-mudahan nggak ketemu ombak yang besar-besar kayak kemarin. Mudah-mudahan. Amin. Tapi ya tempo hari waktu mau bikin anak-anak SMA itu ke Toba tahun 2019, karena latihannya selalu di danau kecil gitu, terlalu safe, sehingga saya sebelum berangkat ke Toba, saya malah minta anak-anak itu nyemplung di laut luas di jam 3 sore supaya kena ombak besar. Supaya nanti di Toba ketemu ombak, dia ngerasanya biasa-biasa aja karena dia sudah terbalik-terbalik di laut luas. Nah, jadi dengan adanya trauma yang besar kemarin itu, mudah-mudahan pas ekspedisi rasanya lebih enak gitu.
Okay. So a little bit of what we are discussing, Nigel, that we are discussing that we should do what you suggest, that before we go to the south coast of Java, which is quite notorious but in terms of the waves, the surfs, we should try again in the north. And then Mr. Saleh also says that when he trained his high school club for expedition in Lake Toba, the students only train in very tranquil lakes. So he asked them to paddle in the sea once, and then so Toba will be quite okay for them to run. Yeah, that's so yeah, I think that's for that question. I think a little bit sum up. I think the discussion between Kang Yopi and Saleh is already a little bit explaining what the conclusion of the question was. So I guess there is another. We have like 4 questions. This one is very practical. What kayak reparation kits that you bring during long expedition? In this case, it's a plastic polyethylene kayak. What do you suggest we should bring for reparation kit?
What you have to think, it's not just for this expedition, but for any trip, you have to think what could go wrong, what could possibly go wrong, and how likely is it to go wrong, and how bad will it be if it does go wrong. So it's the risk assessment. Are your deck lines and elastics going to be okay for the whole expedition? If they're in good condition before you start, then I think maybe yes. So do you need to take extra deck lines and elastic? Maybe not. But what about a skeg? Is the skeg likely to go wrong? Do you need to have some way of cleaning it or taking it apart? Or the rudder, if you have a rudder, is the rudder mechanism, is there anything that is going to go wrong on the rudder? And what about the foot braces? Will the foot braces last you? You make the decision about what it is that could go wrong and how difficult is it to fix it.
Yeah, we had a hard lesson when Saprol is borrowing Mr. Saleh's kayak, and the bulkhead is coming off. So when we are actually learning to do capsizing and re-entry, and then it was completely water on the front.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's coming off. So and then we spent one night. He spent one night putting a glue on them. Yeah.
Yes. That is a problem with plastic kayaks when you're loading them for expedition. That if you're pushing all your equipment in to make it all fit, that it's possible to put a lot of pressure on the bulkheads and they can break seal. So it's especially maybe important to carry something which you can seal a bulkhead with. But that's the kind of question you need to ask. What could go wrong, and
how would you fix
how would
it?
I fix it? And if the answer is, well, maybe my I've lost a hatch. What would you do if you lose a hatch?
That's right.
What would you do if your rudder breaks?
Or paddles.
What would you do if your paddle breaks?
Yeah.
Those are the questions, the type of question. It's very difficult to say, this is my repair kit, because you need a truck to carry everything that you need. You need a spare kayak, you need a spare.
Yeah.
When
You
we
have
went
a container full of new kayaks, that will be easy.
So when we went to Iceland, we didn't know what we were going to experience. We didn't know what we would be able to buy. Because in those days you couldn't look on the World Wide Web, because there was no World Wide Web. There was no internet or cell phone or small radio or anything. So we had to carry things with us for repair. But you don't want to carry a big box of stuff with you. So we had a repair kit for fiberglass repairs, because there were fiberglass boats, but we left it in our starting place. So if we had a big repair to do and we couldn't buy something where we were locally, we would have to hitchhike back to the start to get the repair kit, but it would be possible. It was not in England, but it was in Iceland, the repair kit. So maybe not in Lake Toba, maybe your repair kit is on Flores, but maybe you don't need the whole repair kit all of the time. You don't need to carry it. You just need to know that, okay, we have a major repair to do. We have a repair kit on Flores. It may take us 3 days to find it, but we can get it.
Yeah.
The other thing is, maybe things can serve more than one purpose. So if you lose a hatch lid, maybe you don't need to bring another hatch lid, but you could use something else. Like if you just had a bungee or a rubber thing that you could hold a dry bag over it. Or if it was a float bag that could be used to displace water that might come in. There's more than one way to use something. And when you have things that serve a number of different purposes, you don't have to bring as much.
Okay.
You might think of taking a day where you say, we're going to practice incidents. So managing incidents. And you think, well, what could go wrong? Okay, let's think someone is out on the sea and do a rescue and the hatch lid comes off and it sinks and you've lost a hatch lid. We'll work on that as an exercise. So how do you empty the kayak when the hatch is full of water and there's no hatch lid? And how would you fix it? Try it on dry land first, so that you have as many different ways of fixing the solution as possible. Maybe you can find 5 different ways that you could do it. Try them all on dry land, and then try them on the water and see which one works best on the water. And then you have an idea, okay, if that didn't work, this one works better, or if that one didn't work, then we have another option. And then try something else. And you think, well, okay, we're out there and we have broken paddle, but there's no spare. What are the different solutions you could have for sorting the problem out? What other situations? maybe we have someone who has hurt a shoulder and can't paddle. Okay, how many different ways can you bring them back to shore safely, and which is the easiest? You know, by working through different problems like that, different incidents, you're going to learn how to tackle problems, but you're also going to be able to foresee things that could go wrong. When you know that a hatch lid will sink and you know how difficult it is to put it back, maybe you're a little bit more careful on making sure they're all tied on.
Yeah.
And making sure that they're all sealed properly. You know, that's the care comes when you know the consequence.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess thank you for the answer for that question. I guess it's very good advice. It's also that we need to practice things about scenarios, not only about accidents, but also about things of losing things and failing things, failing little things on the kayaks, right? We already have some lessons about that, but I think some of your answer makes us think that we have to put more experiments on repairing little things, which is as we learn in a hard way that very small thing turns out to be a very not fatal but very determining factor in our journey, especially if we are going to do more, almost I think possibly more than 2 months of journey far away from paddle any supplies of new kayak equipment, I think.
Especially Prio, because he lost the main pedal and also the spare pedal.
But
He has to
actually,
learn how to use his hand to paddling the kayak.
Actually, I only have one blade left, so I was doing canoeing. I was doing canoeing.
Half,
So
not one blade, half blade.
Yeah, half blade. Yeah, no, one blade. We're supposed to have 2 blades, right? Yeah. Yeah, so to sum up, I think dalam bahasa Indonesia mengenai apa namanya asesmen resiko yang harus dilakukan tidak hanya mengenai kecelakaan ataupun apa namanya kesalahan pengarungan, tapi juga kegagalan peralatan kecil yang mendukung kayak kita, dari hal kecil seperti tutup bagasi kayak sampai apa namanya tali temali yang dibuat untuk mengamankan alat-alat kita. Itu perlu kita skenariokan bagaimana jika alat-alat tersebut putus, hilang, kendor, dan itulah yang akan menentukan barang apa saja yang perlu kita bawa selama perjalanan. Jadi spare part yang kita butuhkan. Dari perjalanan latihan kemarin kita sudah mulai belajar ada hal-hal kecil yang dapat berkembang menjadi permasalahan fatal. Pertanyaan yang berikutnya barangkali ini agak terlalu general. The next question is quite general. I think I put it on the last question. How do you choose kayaking? What dreams you still have in terms of sea kayaking? I think that will be a very general question. I think we go to the more technical question, which is, you have seen our model, the kayaks that we used. Have you checked have you had the opportunity to check the pictures, Nigel?
I haven't had the opportunity to check.
Okay.
But I haven't paddled these kayaks personally, so I'm not familiar with them. And we don't have them around here, so
yeah. So I think I can give a little bit hint that we use only one whiskey 16, and what I feel was because I think most of the year I paddle whiskey 16. So so for me, maneuvering in the surf zone, from compared to the other that we use, the most versatile, the most maneuverable is the whiskey 16. I think it has a principle thing. Is very simple thing that people can notice is the other kayaks have bigger on the backside than in the front. Yeah, the front is so it shapes like a needle. Yeah, in front it's a little bit narrow. The backside is big, but but whiskey 16 seems to be bigger a little bit on the front, I think. So that and also that the hull that the hull of the kayaks other than the whiskey 16s, I cannot speak with the Mr. About Mr. Mr. Yopi's kayak, but the 3 of our kayaks I think is expedition seabird expeditions, and they say their design is Swedish design kayaks, which I don't know what that means, but it seems to be like
bigger in the wider in the back than it is in the front.
Yes. So three of our kayaks are on that model. So can you explain what are the advantage and the disadvantage of this difference between whiskey and then the seabird expedition?
When you're looking at the shape of a kayak, there are so many different. There are a lot of different things that make it handle differently. But one of the advantages of the whiskey is that it is quite short in the back.
Yeah.
And when you think of a ship, which end is the rudder? It's always at the back. Your steering in a kayak with your paddle is from the back, your controls. So if you can reach closer to the back with your paddle, your control is easier. If the cockpit is up near the front and you can't reach the back very easily, then your steering and control with your paddle is not as easy. So in a way, the shorter back gives you the control for maneuvering and steering and going straight. It gets more difficult because where the cockpit is doesn't necessarily mean where the balance point is. But if your cockpit is near the front and the front is narrow and the back is big, very often the kayak wants to go to the wind more strongly. But because your cockpit is near the front, it's harder to reach the back for steering. So it becomes harder in wind. So sometimes you have kayaks that are, like I could name a couple of Canadian designs that are very good in gentle conditions. But when the wind is strong, they're very difficult to control because they want to turn to the wind, even if you've got the rudder down. You want to turn to the wind. And it's not so easy to reach the back to steer them.
Okay. All right. But what do you suggest? How to make the most of that kayak in China? What should I do? What should we do with the ones using that kayak?
Well, with any kayak, most kayaks are going to do the trick. You know, you don't have to have one model of kayak to do an expedition. People have been doing kayaking trips in all kinds of craft. But you need to know how they handle in different conditions. Okay. So my advice would be find a safe place and go out in strong wind. And a safe place in strong wind would be when the wind is coming more onto the shore. so that if you did have something go wrong, you're going to land on the shore.
Okay.
So maybe a sandy beach,
A little bay.
a bay. Doesn't mean that you have to have strong waves at the same time, but strong wind. And then maybe try them in waves. You've already tried them in waves, but find a place where the surf is easy to manage, where you're going to land on the beach with the surf, and go and play in the surf and see how they handle in trying to ride waves in and capsizing and rescues. Well, maybe not rescues on surf beach because you'll come into the shore, but turning them around so that you come in towards the beach and then turn around and go back out. So you see how they handle in waves and in wind in particular. Those are the two areas where it's going to be most you're going to notice the differences most.
Okay. So and just a quick one, that is, what are the advantages? Why they design it for like that? The one that is the one that the bigger back and the narrow in front. What is that for actually? What was the purpose of that?
The thinking behind them. If I knew the design, what went on in the heads of designers, I'd be. Sometimes it's, I don't know. I sometimes I look at.
You could say this is true, but sometimes people design for a location, and in Sweden you have lots of flat water and little islands, and conditions are a little different. So you design for certain conditions or the paddling you like to do. So maybe it's more for Baltic Sea. I don't know. I don't know.
But I know that some of the Canadian designs that I don't like, because of the way they handle in strong winds, they're not really designed for going out in strong winds. They're designed for going around the islands there's a big archipelago, lots of islands on the west coast of Canada, and
lakes,
and people go out in those places in conditions which are not so windy, and maybe I go out in conditions that are more windy because I like it, and maybe that boat isn't designed for that. It's designed for more sheltered. And the Swedish 0.65, when I started designing for them, they had a range of kayaks that were very good in Swedish archipelago. But when you take them out into rougher seas, they were not so good. But they weren't designed for that. So it's
enough.
Yeah, it's enough.
Yeah. Okay, so it's very good explanation now. Yeah. So a little bit sum up in Indonesian, that is mengenai bentuk dari kayak, desain dari kayak yang kita gunakan. 3 dari jenis kayak yang kita gunakan berbentuk Swedish design, di mana bagian belakang kayak itu lebih besar dibandingkan di depannya. Kerugian dari desain seperti ini adalah bagian depan kayak kita akan lebih mudah diarahkan oleh arah angin, maksudnya dibelokkan oleh arah angin. Dan untuk mengontrolnya yang biasanya dapat kita lakukan dengan menggunakan rudder atau dengan dayung digunakan sebagai rudder, menjadi lebih sulit karena bagian belakangnya lebih lebar. Tapi usul Nigel adalah kita berlatih di area-area angin yang kuat, sehingga kita mencoba sendiri apa yang terbaik dari desain tersebut dalam menghadapi medan angin yang kuat. Itu kurang lebih penjelasannya. Ya, mungkin lebih spesifiknya lagi bahwa setiap kayak diciptakan dengan bayangan medan-medan tertentu. Tidak semua kayak diciptakan dengan bayangan medan yang sama. Medan yang barangkali ada yang dibayangkan adalah kelurusan dari misalkan perjalanan antar pulau, dan kayak lain diciptakan untuk menghadapi ombak dan angin yang besar. Another question that is not on the list but is very important from Teguh, which is our transportation manager. is actually what do you use for your communication? What do you use? What radio? Do you use mostly radio, telephone?
No.
So what do you use for safety communication?
I don't.
Okay.
He hasn't done that before.
I haven't done that before.
Because
Okay.
you don't have a land supporting team during your expedition.
I've never had a land supporting team.
So that's different.
So
You're a
this is a
solo.
good question.
It's a good question.
A good question for Nigel to ask you. When you figure it out, you can tell him.
I can learn from you.
Okay.
No, I've never
So-
had a land support team, and when I've been on the water with the team, we don't have radios to keep together. We train to keep together.
Okay.
So we are always close
So you can see each other and make
and
eye contact.
make communication all the time. And
How
that's
about if you are-
really a very, very important safety.
Okay, I see.
Um,
So we are in.
So if I'm not able to wave to Molly and say I'm uncomfortable, I want to go to shore, then I'm too far away, or she is too far away from me. And if we are together and we can't say to you, we have a problem here with the skeg, and I can't say that to you, then we're too far away. That's where our safety comes in, by keeping close.
How about any plan of contacting any coast guards or any boats around? If anything happened, we are drifting.
I think for you, you should have a radio for contacting. I think that's important to have some contact to say, okay, there's a super tanker coming up, and we're going to tell them that we're here, or
It's
whatever.
just not your expertise.
But it's not my expertise.
Oh,
I think someone maybe Sandy would know. I think she uses uses that sort of thing a lot more than I do.
Okay.
I tend to go minimalist on that.
Okay. All right. So I think that is an answer also on the very last question about the land team, that you never had land team, right?
No.
Okay. That leaves us only with two more questions. I go for the. Have you had a chance to look at the southern coast of West Java yet, or?
It's southern coast of West Java or Flores?
West Java.
West Java.
West Java is for our
training,
which is, we know that it has a more rougher than the Flores. We just to learn it to try it the worst, like as for simulation for the worst condition. And well, actually I can just describe it because it's open sea as in ocean, right? So and it's also a huge drop underwater. I think there's like a trench, which yes. So we have many this is one maybe one of the thing that sometimes interests me and probably interested you also, that there are folklores and everything on the south side of Java that is a kingdom of spirits, because it has taken so many lives, and there are so many superstitions on the south side, because there are because it every year it takes a lot of accidents, but we also had preparation when we talk about the Coast Guard. Actually, Molly, Nico, and Saprol just came back several days ago from a lifeguard training there for 3 days. So they have certification to becoming lifeguard there. So they are using that hard conditions to train there. But yeah, one of the scientific explanation is because of the currents. Of course, the big waves, but also there is a big trench dropping on the south line.
So there's nothing. there are. I know I can imagine what the conditions will be like there, just because of the location and the exposure. But I couldn't say go to this beach or go to that beach. I don't have enough local knowledge or understanding of the coast there to say where it's dangerous and where it's not. But if you're training for lifeguard, then you know what rips are. Are you familiar with the rip?
I don't know what's in Indonesian. Rip itu apa bahasa? Harus yang narik keluar. Yeah, rip. Yes. They learn about that. Yes.
Yeah, and how to see them and understand how to. If you stand on the beach, can you see a rip?
Bisa nggak ngelihat? Yes, they said they can spot it. Yeah.
And the direction that it's going. And when you're on the water in a kayak, can you see it?
They haven't used a kayak on the training.
Okay. So part of what is really important for sea kayaking in areas that have heavy surf is understanding where the rips are likely to be and where they're not so likely to be. Because if you want to land somewhere, you don't want to land whether in the rip, the water's going the wrong way. You want to land where there is not a rip. And the surf by the side of the rip is generally quite heavy because the water is deeper and the waves come closer to the shore before they get steep and break. And where you have gently shelving bottom underneath, then the waves break and then they break again and they break again and then they break again. And they lose their energy as they come towards the beach. So there are good places to launch and land and bad places.
Okay. But is it a good place to launch? No?
A rip can be a good place to launch and a bad place to land.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you think of going out to practice in surf and you choose a beach and you have your lifeguards, but you choose a beach where there are no people because you don't want to kill people as you come in. So it's a and you look to see where the rips are. You say, well, there's a rip there and a rip there. The strongest rip, where will the strongest rip be? It depends. It's not always in the same place. If the wind is blowing in one direction and there is a headland, then the strongest rip is probably by that headland on the downwind side. And probably the safest and smallest surf and the easiest place to ride waves is going to be on the sheltered corner of the beach. And the waves will be bigger the farther down the beach you go with the wind. Okay, so you have a picture, but there will be rips all the way along the beach. And if you start surfing here and the wind is blowing, sooner or later, you will reach a rip. Your kayak will be blown that way. So you need to organize your circuit. If you're using a rip for launching, to go out through the rip and then to surf in the place where there is no rip, but not get to the next rip. So you're in the area.
Okay.
And how do you locate that when you're on the water? You need to line up landmarks so that as you drift, you can see the landmarks change.
You also work with people on the beach sometimes for training.
So you're 4 here in my picture. How many people will be on the water and how many people will be on land when you're practicing your surfing?
So, you mean for our next practice?
For your next practice, how many people will be on land and how many people will be surfing?
Well, we were planning to have the lifeguards, and we're planning to actually we are planning to cooperate with them to monitor on land and also on. But how many of them we have not discussed it yet.
Yeah. So this is a suggestion that as a kayaker you will learn a lot when you're standing on the beach. You'll learn more if there's more than one person standing on the beach. So because you can talk. And so if there are 4 of you and 2 of you are on the water and 2 of you are on land, you have someone who can give directions from the beach. And someone to talk to say, okay, I think he's having a little bit too far towards the rip, and signal to get away from the rip, or give feedback, or to give help if someone swims to pull them ashore. And as a team, it's good if you practice those things within your team rather than relying on outside lifeguards.
I think you're
I mean, you have lifeguards in your group, but that's good. But you're the team. You need to practice together and you need to be self-sufficient. You need to be able to understand the waves from the shore and from the water. And by splitting some of you on the water at one time and the others on the shore, then you learn from both sides.
That also helps when you're judging your conditions later on your trip and you're thinking, is that too hard? Should we go out today? And you remember what you saw, how people responded in those conditions when they were paddling, but you're on the shore and you know what it looks like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very good. That's a very good advice. We make sure that in April that we have the total of 8 days that will be on the south side. 5 days will be going along multi days. The 3 days will be concentrating on how to learn about the surfs and the rips. So I think it's very good. We were thinking like that. We were thinking, oh, we have help from the local lifeguards. They can monitor us, so we can do all on the surfing all the same time. But then maybe we should organize it a little bit differently. That maybe 2 at a time or even 1 at a time. That we can analyze it from the beach.
I think you'll learn more, I think.
Yeah, but maybe from your experience during your expedition, what we learn is during our journey, we usually take a distance from the shore, about 1 or 2 kilometers to avoid from the wave. But what we afraid in this, what you call it, the ocean facing shore like this, we just afraid that if we move far away from the shore, the wave will what you call it, bring us further more
from shore.
Yeah.
From shore.
Yes.
Is there any possibility for this?
That can happen, yes.
So
so your understanding of what the weather is doing is really important.
Okay.
So if the weather is blowing away from the shore, then the conditions near the shore don't look as bad as they do when you get out. They get worse when you go further from shore. So you really have to watch the weather and make sure that you don't have an offshore wind, a strong offshore wind, which would take you away. Or you get the weather forecast. I don't know how accurate a weather forecast is there, but you have to make a big effort to be close to shore if the wind is blowing away.
Okay. Yeah. That's one of the reason why we during our next simulation training, we need the cover from the lifeguard with the boat on water, just to avoid if we get the shore wind where we can be what you call it, swept far away from the land. Because we are facing the ocean, and what we afraid if we have a problem, we will swept away, and then we will stranded in the Australia, something like that.
Yeah.
Then you need more than 2 days extra food.
And we need our passports.
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe Nigel, this is also, we have our senior here, Mr. Atot, Mr. Bakti Ali Sabana, where maybe he can share his experience, because he also win
Oh, yeah.
with I thought maybe you can give us an advice.
No, yes.
No.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Knowledge.
Can you hear my voice?
We can see you.
Yeah.
Nigel,
No,
he's
actually,
also a boat maker. He's also a boat maker. I invited him to talk about designs.
No, yeah, but actually I learned a lot from the Nigel talk just now, and I think everything is right. I think I haven't have experienced ocean kayaking for a long distance, only Pulau Seribu with Priyo and people. But I think I just want to add one thing, is that I just saw the, I think you also need to memorize or maybe to take notes on the wind direction and strength in the island where you want to paddle at the right month. And you have to, because I think, I don't know about Flores, but I think in Jakarta, the wind is very much, in Jakarta, in Java is a big island, so the wind is very much affected by the temperature, rain, and the sun, the offshore and onshore. But I don't know about Flores, but I think you have to check also the wind, and you have to know maybe historical wind direction last year or the year before at the certain month in May. Where is it blowing from Australia, and what is the effect of the sun and the island? Because in Flores, it's a very long island, and in some part maybe it doesn't so much affected by the land. Okay. I think that's only my input. Yeah, and then maybe a good place to learn surfing is in Batu Karas. I think that's a nice place to work, and I don't think you need a boat for security, because the wave is very close to the shore. Okay. Even surfer can swim back safely. So I think you start at Batu Karas, maybe you go left or right after that. Thank you.
Okay, Batot, thank you for your advice. Yeah, we'll follow it. We put it on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Semangat amat.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Kang Atot, also that and Nigel. We are also worried that we are taking so much of your weekend, Nigel. But only one more question. But before that question, of course, I need to sum up a little bit in Indonesian. That pada dasarnya untuk latihan di Laut Selatan Jawa dibutuhkan pengetahuan yang agak terlatih mengenali rib dan juga ombaknya. Posisi rib di mana saja yang akan tercipta rib dan di pengaruh angin terhadap pergerakan kita, apakah kita akan terdorong ke arah rib yang satu dengan yang lainnya. Rib adalah kondisi di mana air, maksudnya air pesisir menyedot ke arah lautan dan itu ke tengah laut, dan itu tempat yang ideal membuat launching, buat berangkat, tapi akan sangat sulit untuk pendaratan. Tentunya seperti itu. Nah, untuk berlatih, Nigel menyarankan saat berlatih lebih baik kita konsentrasi untuk memahami pola-pola arus, ombak, dan rib itu dengan cara mungkin kayaker hanya satu atau dua saja, sedangkan tim lain memperhatikan dan juga membantu mengarahkan para pedayung yang sedang menghadapi pergerakannya mengenai posisinya dan segala macam. Jadi satu tim itu memahami betul karakter pesisir yang dianggap berbahaya tersebut.
Okay.
So that is the sum up in Indonesian. Now the last question on the list, that is actually number 7. So how did you choose sea kayaking? How did you figure out sea kayaking, and do you have any dreams that you will do in terms of a sea kayak journey or any sea kayak project? That was the question.
Sure.
Sure. No, I started sea kayaking when I was maybe 15, 16 years old, and I tried all different kinds of kayaking, racing, competing in surf competitions and kayaks, and whitewater, and the sea kayaking was one aspect, but it gave me freedom because I could take everything I needed in my kayak and be free as a bird. So I loved being on the water, but it was also exciting. You have as much excitement or as little as you choose. Normally, you get surprises, but there's always something special. And it's a way to be different places and experience different things. It's not just the kayaking, but it's where it takes you. And the people that you meet and the animals that you see. It's the experience that's so magical. Places that I still want to go. I've only been to a few places in the world, and there are very many more. So it's yes, I've not run out of inspiration, but I haven't got a place that I'm going to tomorrow. Well, next week I go to Catalonia in Spain, and I'll be teaching there, and then I go to England, and so I'd be away 3 weeks. There's always somewhere that's interesting.
I think you're always open to new opportunities, not set in stone, but just like going to Indonesia. I don't think you ever thought, oh, I'd love to go to Indonesia, but it did happen, and it was wonderful that you took the chance.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe you can join us with the Indian expedition on August, September this year.
I think it's good for you to do it yourself. That's when you will really learn and grow. I think it's good.
Yeah, and we will keep asking you a question during our expedition, if you don't mind.
Good.
Please.
One more thing also, we are organizing that we are trying to be able to do this, just that we will have satellite monitor of what our position are, like in real time. No, not real time, Kang Yopi. It's every 1 hour or.
That's interesting.
We talk about that with our friend who do that for his business, to monitor boats for companies. and we probably will do that for our expedition, so anyone actually can check us where we at. So
you must make sure that you are all in one place together.
yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, you
They-
have
they-
Spread out.
Yeah, my friend can even say we can make a line that is, if the line is crossed, then it's going to go beeping. So
yeah,
it's going to, and if Molly is going all the way out, where or Sapro is just want to go to some tavern to drink something, then it's going to beep.
Yeah, and then we can take a picture of our position by satellite picture every 1 hour, or we can ask for every 10 minutes if we want. So people or our team in the land can monitor our position every single hour, or every single 10 minutes. So that's something that we will try in this expedition, and hope it can work.
really interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in
So
our,
many possibilities now.
that's right, yeah. So maybe in our website, also in our Instagram, after this, we you can monitor our position, and maybe we can discuss something during our when we are in the ocean with you. Yeah, maybe there's a possibility, but yeah, let's see how it's work. Priyo and Indra is working on it, and hopefully we can do it, and maybe we can share it to you and to all our community in the sea kayakers.
I think that's exciting.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities. So good to try.
Yeah.
So yeah, Nigel, is I hope you will have also time for our next evaluation after we have more of our training. I hope you will. It's possible also for you to keep and also that you are motivated also to be part of our remote mentors.
Yes.
And we are very honored that you have you are on board. We are also inviting Sandy Robson, because he actually did the north side of Flores, right? But and also Justin Kurgenton for the documentation of our expedition. But oh, okay. So yeah,
Party
time.
So yeah, so anyway, I guess we already have the 2 hours already. This talk, it has been very useful. Do you have any other thing to say, Mr. Yopi, to Nigel?
Well, yes, we have learned a lot, and we have to think about it. And then after that, maybe another week or two, or after our simulation training, another 3 weeks from now, we can make a question list again, and then we discuss we discuss it with our mentor or advisor, and maybe after that Nigel can give his value time for us to discuss like what we did right now. And for me, it's a very fruitful time, Nigel, to discuss with the expert and to learn from the expert of how to do the sea kayaking. Because we are new in this kind of adventure in Indonesia. For me, and for us in our club is Wanadri. Is a beginning of the new era. Well, I can call it new era to do the sea kayaking expedition, because we did the mountain climbing mountain expedition before. We did the 7 summits expedition before, and also the other kind of adventure. But for this sea kayaking is just a new for us. So we need to learn a lot from the expert, and we are happy and we are glad and honored that you are in our team. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I trust that I'm quite confident that you will meet us in person also after the expedition, as we have a plan that Nigel will teach in Lake Toba in January. So after the team can meet up with you either in Lake Toba, or of course you will be invited to Bandung. You will meet the Bandung team also. You will meet also Dr. Bhakti, which is my first sea kayak teacher. And actually we are here in Bandung in his camping ground. It's our base camp in Bandung.
And he's a medical doctor, and he's a sea kayaker and also windsurfer. Well, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, looking. I'm quite sure. Also, just keep yourself and Christine healthy, and then I'm pretty sure you will be going in a lot of places in Indonesia that we haven't been before. I think you'll be in Toba, but I hope you will also experience Flores. I think if you see in the pictures, they look like another country altogether. They are different vegetation. They are it's very exciting. Even for us, it's very exciting, as if we are going to another continent. So I hope we will work a lot with you, Nigel. Thank you very much for your time. And yeah, so very good to talk to you.
And you as a team enjoy the paddling together, and I think you will have a fantastic expedition. I hope. I'm looking forward to next time talking to you.
Should we organize a photo together? Like, how do you organize photo together, Molly?
Oh, can you do that?
Yeah, like the old COVID time, no?
What's
Are possible still possible? Or? Is it Indra or no? Jody, right? Jody, are you there somewhere? Can everyone turn on their camera if possible? Maybe some is. Are we still waiting for? Yeah. Okay. Oh, Inoy. Hai, halo Inoy. Irwan. Nggak usah pakai